Hey, welcome into this edition of the GASOCAST, the first of 2022.
We back.
First of many.
We back.
We have had a long stretch off because of, well, COVID, holidays, all types of things.
Yeah.
We're back, though.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back. A lot to talk about. I think we're going to just kind of recap as a whole some stuff throughout the state, not necessarily get into our usual trends of different segments, but we're just going to kind of catch ourselves back up. It's district play now, so we're going to catch ourselves back up, talk about some storylines. We got some questions that some of the people asked on social media, but we're just going to kind of get ourselves back into the groove on this podcast, talk about some things, and then going forward next week, we're hot and heavy back into it.
Absolutely. But before we get started, download our app.
Yep.
The GASO Texas High School scoreboard app. You're going to get all the district games, scores, times, locations, and then when the playoffs comes, we keep a bracket and keep it really updated and really sharp. So go ahead, download that. It's 5A and 6A. Go ahead, Timmons.
And then follow y'all too. You have Twitter.
We do.
GASO Mass and GASO Blue, very easy. What are some of you have had your own personal Twitters for about a month now. Give me some of your thoughts and feedback on what you see out there in the grassroots.
Man, I feel like I'm wrapped up in it. Like I always got to be doing something.
Right.
And picking and choosing has been a lot harder than I thought it would be.
I still think y'all do a good job of, you're on the app because you have to stay informed of what's going on in the state.
You have to.
But you also know when to close the app, and some people just don't know how to do that.
Well, I
don't. me.
I'm sitting like at under 300 followers. I'm trying to catch the 27,000 more that I need to catch Texas Hoops GASO. So if you follow me, that would be great. So I can get that verified check like the Texas Hoops GASO Twitter has. So that's the main goal, right?
Yeah, but I will credit both of y'all. Y'all are doing it your way, and you have some structure to it. So it's not just on there, it's fluff, and like you're at these games doing just really good detailed work and, elaborating on the players that you're seeing and using, I think, Twitter for the good. So applaud to y'all. They're must follows in this space. They're at games all the time. They work harder than anybody. So GASO Blue, GASO Mass. I'll probably, like I said, right now I'll put your handles right above your heads right here, and we can keep it moving.
I appreciate the shout out. So I'm going to jump into some of these social media questions, and I'm going to ask you guys. Okay, the first one we got, Grassroots related. What is the top independent teams in Texas? Why are they so good? How do they keep these players? Name some solid programs and why.
Yeah, I think right off the bat, let's talk because we can get back into the history of, some of these teams that have brought a lot of Division I players. But right now, obviously, you got to look at 3D. 3D Empire. Sean Ward has done a really good job of keeping players in-house, really notable players, too, and keeping, I think, with the solid independent program, he does a good job of keeping the stable underneath as well, really good. His 15-16s, he has Anthony Black's little brother Beckham in the stable, so he has a lot of good talent that continues to buy into his culture, and I think that's one of the reasons why he keeps just a fully in-house, great independent program.
Yeah, I think you touched on it too. It's everything when you look at everything that's below and the youth that is going to be coming up through the GASOs. Eventually, that plays a part in how strong your program is, and you look at THP and what they've done, and their founder Tim Farley, who has passed within the past several years, started that, and he did it because he loved kids, and there was a need in that Killeen area and that Central Texas, and then HD Toros, Lou Martinez. I remember watching Lou play in state semis and state finals when he was at Lanier and with his blonde hair, and I guess more it's also like how much time has passed. That's 20 years ago, and now
right.
He has his own program that he's lifting up
with kids like Jonathan Reyes coming through from the who's the big kid Josh. What was the big kid that they had?
That's over at UTEP.
No, that's another one.
Yeah.
Who's the one at UTEP?
Man, we got a computer, I think, right here.
You'll keep this.
And then
Sabo, Cleavon Brown back in the day, Kobe McGee, LaShawn Brown, my boy Reed. They've had a lot of just, they've
We're looking at. There you go.
Zurich, go back.
Oh, you're talking about Josh Pitts.
Josh Pitts
Josh
is one,
Pitts
and
and yeah, Zurich Onyema.
Yeah.
Oyema.
So that's
over.
the thing, and the thing that I love about our GASO, not to cut you off, but like a lot of our GASO teams are independent, and like that's why at Own the State, a lot of these top independent programs, ATX Lockdown's another one.
Yes, that came to mind.
We kind of rewarded them for putting together a big program, and they got a shot at playing a lot of these shoe sponsor teams, and that's what a lot of these guys wanted. And I think the thing that made us feel so fulfilled and rewarded was that fact that we know these teams deserved it.
Yeah, and let's not forget like Houston Fam. Sapay's done a great job of developing down there, and it's contagious when you have those independent teams and you see one or two guys. I mean, I think that not to get into a whole deep discussion about grassroots basketball because we are in the thick of things in high school, but when you look at the history of GASO and the following that we have from non-Division ones from every other week of our tournaments. That's where those guys come. I mean, you get exposure at every level, which is fun. And, of course, our relationships are built upon those college coaches coming and our relationship with the college coaches. And it's just it's a fun time to sit there. And whether if you were like Connor Kuykendall from Southwestern or Jimmy Smith from Trinity, Jared Flemings from UTD, I mean, we can bring out a laundry list of college coaches that are staples.
And these independent teams compete. Like, it's not like, we just had THP beat Houston Hoops in our Memorial GASO this past summer. We had a lot of close games in our own state with some of these independent teams. So it's just great for the state and the culture of grassroots basketball.
And to close this out, it's always fun when a shoe team comes off the court, like a Houston Hoops and go, THP, that was a really good team.
Yeah.
And they have respect.
Yeah, ATX Lockdown also had a lot of success recently. And they've wow.
Year after year.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on.
High school.
Second question. Dark horses to make the state tournament
like this
in
question.
6A and 5A. Blue, you like it so much. Why don't you kick us off?
Like we had a little discussion. Dark horse, what does that really mean? It's a pretty open-ended question, right? It's pretty broad. When you look at San Marcos, which I've told people I spend about 90% of my evaluations outside the Metroplex, as I always try to do in the first half of basketball. And so San Marcos, they have the firepower of Caden Gums, of Malik Presley, the athleticism. You got to look at head coaching. Dan Miller, look what he did in college. Look what he did at KD7 Lakes. And now he's at San Marcos, and you give him two high-level dudes that can go out there and get you buckets, get you rebounds, make plays. That's a scary team because athleticism is going to win you some games down the stretch. He's got to go through Austin Westlake, of course, in district, and then we don't know what the bracket's going to look like. But if you give Dan Miller time, he's going to build the program and build those wins and build the confidence of those kids.
I'll jump in here. I'm going to throw out Lake Highlands. Now, we did have them top 10 in our preseason rankings.
Right.
But with another district opponent getting all of the attention, well-deserved attention, Lake Highlands is kind of just in the shadows. And that team is well coached. They're very deep. They have a unbelievable sophomore guard in Trey Johnson, and they're a really tough team. I would like where I'm at if I'm Coach Duffield right now. Just like they're kind of getting to chase this carrot that is Richardson at the moment in their district, and I think that game is going to tell us a lot about Lake Highlands, and I expect Lake Highlands to be right in it, man.
And there's going to be a theme here. Coaching is, when you look at these lists that we put together, coaching has a big part in the quote-unquote dark horse trend of us, in this discussion. So,
for me, I'm just going to talk about the whole District 27 6A down the San Antonio area. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you look, at the Region 4, I think Westlake is kind of, rightfully so. They represent.
Don't get me started on Westlake.
But you have Wagner, you have Judson, you have East Central. Clemens is 20-3 right now. If you look at the standings, Wagner's 3-1, dropped one last night to New Braunfels. Judson's 3-1, dropped one last night to East Central. Clemens 3-1. Steele's at 0-4, and Steele, they're going to be a tough game for everybody. So I think the teams that make the playoffs out of this district, look for them to be battle tested enough. And with the playoffs, you have to get hot at the right time. And there's a lot of senior-led players in this district with Wagner, with Austin Nunez, and there's Brandon at Judson. So you have a lot of players with firepower that can will you to get to the state tournament. So, I really just like this district a lot. Maybe I'm biased because I went to Judson. I played in that district, so I know what it's about. But like I said, there's from top to bottom, it's a really, really talented district.
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Plano.
Yeah.
They are undefeated, and they are not being talked about. And
They will be here soon, but let's talk about them before it happens.
yes, I don't know how. I've seen them a couple times now, and they're adding Justin McBride. So that's a good ad. I believe he's coming back for the Flower Mound Marcus game next week, 19th maybe? Might be the 22nd.
I'm sure we'll have somebody there.
Yeah, somebody will be there from our staff, and we are so looking forward to that. But Plano's tough, man. They're led by this guard named Xavier Williams. He really gets after it, and they got some length on the back end. They really defend, and they got some playmakers on the offensive end. So, kind of coming out of nowhere, they're one of the better teams in the state, and they need to be in this discussion. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, when Michael, you were talking about San Antonio a second ago. When you look at even the district right next to 27, looking at district, where am I here? I'm on the wrong.
With Clark
with Clark, District 28.
Okay.
I thought it was 28. I was on the wrong page. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. But Clark is in there at 6-1 in district. Reagan's at 7-0. I mean, you're talking about a Reagan team that is 21-4, 7-0. John Hurst, their head coach, was raving about his team, but he wanted to kind of let it develop and not make a lot of noise early on. The gameplay of his team is starting to show when you look at the sophomore, Aiden Richard, who's averaging 10.5 points a game. You got Trey Thompson, 17.5 points a game, 3.2 assists, and then Jackson Adams with with nearly 14 points a game. They're putting the ball in the hoop because they do shoot a lot of threes. They play within an offense. Then you look at Clark. Clark's been there. Jordan Mason has a lot to say about that going down the stretch here. Absolutely. As we kind of turn the corner and get to almost a midway point. There's just so much chatter right now in Region 4, and like I said, I'll put Austin Westlake at the top there. I think that this is one of Lucero's better teams because of how they have to play.
Yeah.
Without that superstar, without that stud. Even though I love me some Connor McManus. But you look at those dog horses, there's gonna be some fight every single round, I think.
Yeah, and speaking of those two teams you mentioned, with Clark and Reagan, I already have a videographer in San Antonio ready to cover that game when they match up later on in district.
Might have to drive down.
For me, Denton Geyer, it's a more popular name, but when you look at the makeup of this team, Kai Lindsay inside is just going to be a problem for anybody. He's might be the most productive player in the state of Texas when you're talking about scoring and rebounding. And what I love about this team is that the two freshman guards that they have with Lowry and Jeremiah Green, they've played a tough non-district schedule, dropped some games, but they know what it feels like to play teams like Richardson. They know what it feels like to play in the big Thanksgiving Hoop Fest. So these guys are battle-tested. They're not going to be deer in the headlights when the playoffs come around. They have shooting and spacing with my boy Connor Newton. I just like the build and the makeup, and like I said, they've been able to play in some high-level games, so I don't think the moment's going to be too big for them. So really all these, and like I said, if the two freshmen can start to really, which they are already, mature and grow up really fast, then they have a shot in the playoffs because they already know what it already looks like, and they know what it's like to guard a Casey Wallace and a Rylan Griffin. So they have I just like their chances to continue to get better and be a factor.
I'm just going to insert some real quick. This is the kind of questions that we like. This made an entire segment,
yeah.
And we got 6A and 5A, and we'll hurry through it to answer the question. But This is a really great question because we had to think, and it took some time.
Yep. Let's jump to 5A here.
Well, we got to mention Spring Westfield.
Spring Westfield, absolutely.
Spring Westfield, they do it every single year. We've talked about
just beat Fort Bend Elkins.
Yeah, and so. They're a team that really is not talked about a whole lot in terms of like when you representing state, but they have, Zion Pippins, they have Willie Williams, who's been the district MVP 2 straight years in a row. You probably say he's going to do the hat trick. they are well coached. They are on a mission, and they consistently win basketball games. They put opponents away. They're fun to watch. They're tough. I mean, if you kind of look at Fort Bend Marshall a little bit, Fort Bend Elkins.
They're fun.
Oh yeah.
You're talking
So
about
when a
Elkins.
5A, yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself, but it's that kind of consistency through the past 2 to 3 years for Westfield they should be talked about.
Yeah. Now moving on to 5A.
Yes,
My
now
fault.
we're-
I'll kick it off with Mansfield Summit. I've seen them a couple times now, and they have played a really, really tough non-district schedule. We're talking Martin, Marcus, Colleen Ellison, Atascocita, Shadow Creek, Dickinson, Harker Heights, and then Midway, and then they come into district, and they're playing Mansfield Timberview, and they lost by 2, and then they play Mansfield Legacy, and then they win by 1. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a group that you're not going to want to play in the playoffs. They are so well coached. They defend at such a high level. They pressure you. They do not get rattled, and they are not going to be afraid of anyone that they're going to face. And I'm just interested to see what type of run that they could possibly go on. And if they're making shots, look out, guys. Look out. So I just want to put, it should go without saying, but it's really easy to talk about the rest of the Mansfield district too. And they get a lot of publicity, but
like I said earlier, with that San Antonio district, when you have a strong district, there's a lot of teams involved that are going to be battle tested. And I really preach that if you get hot at the right time in the playoffs, anything can really happen.
Agreed.
Blue, Leander Rouse.
I've seen them 3 times, and I put them here because do they have the best Central Texas underclassmen on their team, I think. Am I right about that? Nazir Mahmoud. And whenever you come from that region and you have a guy that can go, you're going to be trouble. And it's going to, they're sitting at 15-8. They haven't backed down from any Central Texas competition. They're 2-1 in district. Amari Haywood and JoJo Moore.
The 2 sophomores they have,
yes.
They get real physical inside. And then when you have a lead guard like Cole Andrews,
yes.
Heights, not going to turn the ball over. High IQ, knows when to get it to his shooters like Austin Scopel, and knows when Nazar has it going. I just like the makeup. They're physical. They battle inside. They can hit threes. You have a playmaker that you can give the ball to and say, hey, we need you to make a couple plays to get us back into this game like Nazar. So I just really like the makeup of this team.
All right. Lovejoy. They're 21-2 right now. They've got a Coach Brain Trust over there with Coach Harima and Chastain. It's not really fair.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And, man, all they do is win. And they're going to be one tough out. Got a point guard, Jax Thompson, who can really play, and then Carson Templin, a big, who just impacts the game, and he does everything down low. And me and Sam got to see Dylan Batee, who we'll talk about later, play Carson Templin, and it was a heavyweight battle, man. Those are 2 really, really nice prospects, really good players, and Templin's team, Lovejoy Leopards, found a way. So Lovejoy, look out for them. That is a dangerous team that's just lurking at 21-2. That's crazy. 21-2.
Fort Bend Marshall.
Well, we've all put eyes on them, and kind of the same thing. Jalen Lowe, Chris Marshall. I mean, when you have those 2 guys that can go and put the ball in the hole, especially Jalen, who's going to have the ball 90% of the time when it comes off the rim on the defensive side of things, he's going to get something done pushing it up the court.
And Jalen's the guard where if he can control the pace of the game, then it's going to be hard for them to beat. Because if he's comfortable and he runs the game the way he needs to run it, similar to a guy like I say with like Cason Wallace, when a Cason Wallace is playing the way Cason Wallace wants to play, it's hard for a team to switch up how Richardson wants to do things. Jalen's the same type of guard to where if he controls the flow, decides everything on the court, then they're going to be hard to be rattled and shaken.
All right. Let's move on to this next segment here. Okay? We're going to start going region by region and just talk about either, kind of like we usually do, players that have caught your eye, players you're hearing about,
team storylines,
whatever. Yeah, so let's kick it off. Let's start in South Texas.
Yeah, for me, the Brennan Bears, I've talked about Kingston Flemings before, and he's just one of those. The state of Texas is in good hands because of kids like 2025 Kingston Flemings. Just broke the program assist record at Brennan with 16 assists. He had a 40-point performance a couple weeks ago. They're 6-0 in district. I actually, let me see if they won yesterday. I'll check that. But they were 6-0 prior to last night. I'm not sure if they won or not. But then the coach's son, Camden Cowgill, another freshman 20 to 25 team player. They just are two young freshmen that are getting it done, leading that Brennan program that I wanted to give a shout out to early on in the district.
Jerry Martinez. I keep seeing you pop up on Twitter. 29 points, 39 points, 40-plus points. It's constant. I just wanted to give you a shout-out because I know what you can do. Saw you all summer. Haven't made it down to Los Fresnos, but this 2023 he can really play. He can really fill it up. And look for him to again, have another huge summer leading Los Fresnos right now.
Yeah, Brennan now 7-0 in district, so I wanted to go ahead and shout them out for that. They just beat Holmes last night. And then also Matthew Soto at Somerset, another guy that you continue to see 8 threes in this game, 9 threes, 30 points. So, Texas hard work, feeling very good about their 2023 snipers, playing really well in high school season right now.
Okay, moving on to Central Texas. I'll kick this one off. Jalen Hall of Temple, guy I'd never seen before. I was just in there watching Temple. This dude was hooping. He had about 25 points in the game. I watched him play. He was doing it smooth lefty. He was getting to the rim. And what I saw with him is body control. I mean, he would get downhill and he would get bumped. He'd elevate and be able to just elevate straight up, finish shots, got hot from 3. Made a lot of plays. They were up 15 in the game. I forgot who the other team was. Made a run, and Temple found a way to seal it. But he's a name to just watch for because I thought he was really good. He really stood out.
Yeah, I'll jump in right here with Buda Johnson. They're sitting at 5-2 in their district right now, and I got a couple of players that Sam McKinney, who's about 6'5", really long wingspan, and he gets a lot done inside the paint. But the guy that they look to is Jackson Vandegaard, and Jackson Vandegaard is a sophomore. He's about 6 foot. You can tell, like he shoots deep threes, and he's having to create a lot on his by himself. However, you can tell, like when he's shooting that deep 22, 23 footer, he's practicing that. It's a very good flow when he catches and shoots. His dad's a former NBA scout, so I'm sure they practice those NBA threes to give him a little bit of an advantage. And he, his dad stands at about 6'6", 6'7", so if Jackson gets a couple more of those inches on him, I mean, he's a really good skilled ball handler. He's averaging over 20 points a game and already has 20-plus wins at Buda Johnson. That's a really good, solid start for his sophomore season.
Yep. I also, 2 teams that we forgot to mention in the 6A that I think could make a dark horse run. And one of the teams from Central Texas I want to talk about is Waco Midway. They have a sophomore point guard, Lawyer Jones. He is springy. He's quick off the bounce. He can do a lot, and he can really get going from 3. And Caden Powell, Wyoming commit, 6'9", 6'10", real smooth game, scores around the bucket. And then their coach, Coach McDade, he knows how to get it done. So they're a team, too, I wanted to point out from Central Texas. And then the team that we forgot to mention, too, is DeSoto. 20-5 right now. Dark horse, playing Duncanville to a really close game. And, Coach Bacon can coach.
Yep.
The theme of the show, right?
Yeah, and he loves his team. That's important.
Absolutely. All right, the last Central Texas kid, Josiah Mosley. You and I have both laid eyes on him. He is Round Rock Stony Point, 2024. He's got a real shot. He's wide. He's about 6'7", got some real skill, can rebound the basketball, score around the rim. But he shows other flashes, in the perimeter, or he'll get a rebound and he'll start taking off and dribbling and making a play. It's just man, a lot of upside there.
The one thing I like about him is that he doesn't look like he's in a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of sophomores that score a lot of points or get tossed the ball a lot are always in a hurry. There's the fumbling the ball, or trying to do too much. No, he plays kind of within the game, and you know what? He notices the defense when he can get out and attack and run the floor and get an easy bucket. Pretty crafty, and he's kind of he's a very intriguing Central Texas kid.
All right, moving on to Houston.
So Beaumont United in Houston area, I know it's quite a ways away from Houston, but they represented Texas well in New Orleans at the All-State Sugar Bowl tournament, and that's without Terrence Arsenault. They made it all the way to the championship in a loaded field. Wesley Yates and 2024 K. Dotson were all tournament team. You know, they eventually lost in the championship game to Newton out of Georgia, which is the number 1 7A ranked team that has a Connecticut commit. They're loaded. So I just want to shout out to them. What I like to see is, you know, with one of the top players in the state off the court, you see Wesley Yates growing up even more before our eyes, you know, running the show, being able to help carry a team on his back, and the promise and some of the highlights that I saw from K. Dotson. I'm excited to see him this summer.
Absolutely. I'll jump in. Silsbee has 2 super sophomores, surprise, Draylon Miller and Jared Harris. These dudes play hard, man. I saw them play Dallas Carter, and we're going to talk about a Carter kid when we hit DFW, but really like these 2024s. Draylon's thick, stocky guard. He makes plays. I walked up to him, and I was like, you've got to be a football player too, right? And he said, yeah, but the dude can hoop. He's a floor general and can get going. Jared's more of this just like wiry kid. He has some real nice ball skills, can get going from deep. And got this nice, like, crafty floater package thing going. Jared Harris, look out for him.
Yeah, Brody Robinson over there at Houston Christian. I mean, it seems like he can get out into open space, and he just is quick triggered, and if you're going to guard him, he backs up a foot or so, and he scores a lot of points just because he's in the right place all the time. You know, he's below 6 foot in terms of height, but he's really tough. He gets the ball up the court in a hurry, and he can shoot that thing. I mean, it is night after night. He's hitting 3-pointers in bunches, and that's his game.
Off the catch, off the dribble, all different types of ways. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, he's one that just constantly pops up, and being able to see him a couple times this year, he's been pretty consistent.
Yep. Jumping to the DFW, Chance Puryear, Dallas Carter. Man, you got a 6'8" sophomore. He challenges shots at the rim, then he'll take a charge, then he'll finish around the goal, then he'll knock down a 3-pointer. I mean, this is the type of big that you want. I mean, he's a hybrid big. You know, this development. He's on the right trajectory to really be a special type of player who can do a lot at that size. Very skilled, and Chance is a dog. He is a really, really good player to match with some of those other Southern Assault 2024 group.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Trey Clayton, Dallas Kimball. I know we've talked about him a lot, but it's just that toughness, that just, I don't know. He brings a confidence even more so to Kimball, because a lot of the playmakers for Kimball know that the nastiness Trey Clayton is going to help them on off nights and things like that. He just literally does everything. And Blue, talk about him more.
Yeah, well, I think he's found his comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about how, you know, MVP of state finals during his freshman year when he was at Faith Family. You know, now you fast forward to present day, and he's a different player as he was then. You know, he's a very versatile, tough nose, and he's a winner. He's going to make you winning plays. He's going to you don't hear his name floating a whole lot around college recruiting, but that needs to be a guy that is starting to be focused on, because he does a lot of winning things out there that you just can't teach.
Yep.
You know?
Can we get a pedigree? Dylan Batee comes from the line of Derek Batee and Tony Batee. He is now playing with Lancaster. He's a 2024 sophomore. Saw him a couple weeks back with Plano West. Go hard. Finishes around the rim. Has some skill. Rebounds. I told y'all he went toe-to-toe with Carson Templin. This kid's really good.
That's a big get for a Lancaster team coming off a big win last night against Kimball. So
yeah, and you can see where you can plug him in right away in Lancaster and give Micah Clark some relief of just not being out of position in terms of like, you know, just having to always rebound and get a putback.
Yeah.
But he is going to help out underneath because he's so bouncy and athletic, and he's just going to add some depth to that Tigers team that is already tough.
Yeah, when you see Dylan, you're in for a treat. Really, really good player. And we wanted to bring this guy up because he creates buzz every time we see him in our office, and that's Donovan O'Day, Mansfield Timberview. And I mean, I don't know about you, he's one of the most asked about kids that I get from college coaches.
He's fresh to me because I did not I wasn't able to see him early on, but I got over to the Whataburger and watched him in that tournament, and
fresh
the
to you
size,
seeing him in person.
I'm talking about during the high school season.
Yeah.
He's fresh. I mean, you've always talked about him. You talk about him. But when you look at him now compared to a year ago, the body, the strength, the power, the he looks at that basket and he's one of those guys that kind of even made me go, oh wow, I didn't know he could really do that.
Yeah.
The punishing that he can give a basket and defender, as a defender, as a ball handler. When he gets hot and going from the perimeter, then you got to start guarding him because he'll start dropping them in a hurry. I mean, like you said, he's the most talked about guard right now.
And basketball, you can see basketball's fun to him. Yeah. Like, he loves playing. The joy and the passion that he plays with is infectious. Even to the Mansfield Timberview student section, he plays for them. He plays for his team. And he's just one of those guys that you want to root for. But like you said, he's not huge, but he's well put together, and he has a lot of power to his game. And then the other guy I'll mention from his teammate, Kendall Weaver, just slowly continues to go about his business, dunking on kids, making big-time plays, and the recruitment slowly picking up. He's starting to pick up different JUCO offers, and I just want to tell a kid like that, just stay the course. He's playing the game the right way, as hard as he can, brings it every night. Everything's going to take care of himself because everybody, all three of us, and everybody across the DFW and the state know he's a next-level college basketball player. That comes from another great pedigree of basketball family.
All right, Blue, West Texas,
East Texas. I'm going to wrap up this here in a second.
The
but
directions.
R.J. Thomas from Canyon Randall. Thank you to Leslie Broadhurst, first off, their head coach. He brings his team to the fall GASO. He knows that we're going to be able to get a glimpse here, bringing them to that and playing some of the Metroplex competition, and then he brings them back for a tournament, and we're able to see him throughout the year, and then get film on him. And this guy is very quick off the dribble. He is scoring right now in it seems like over 20 points each game. He has a soft touch, good feel, and he's just he's doing everything offensively for that team. And obviously, being out there in West Texas, they have to battle Amarillo, and he's putting up some big numbers, and he's only a sophomore. He's a guy that we're going to rank because he's getting it done out there. And so then you move on to East Texas, where Hallsville is sitting at 24-2. They're 4-0 in district play. Came off a big win last night against Sulphur Springs. They've lost their big man to an ACL, 6-8, but they're still rolling with it. And that has to do with great guard play. Talking to Rusty Walker this morning, he says that he is happy with their guard play and how hard and tough that they're coming together without their big. And, of course, Anthon McDermott, 6'4", can handle the ball as a point, but they like to push him off and give him the opportunity to drop threes. He's averaging nearly 18 points a game. Moving over to Bullard, 4A school. They should be making a run here in 4A, coming out of their region. And you look at 2023 guard of Garrett Knuckles, coach's son. He's averaging 20 points a game.
Yeah,
he's right around there.
He's being a bad boy out there.
And
he's entered the race of the Bethlehem jump shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're up to 3 now.
Okay.
His off the incredible.
So
smooth. It is a smooth, off the dribble, just everything that you want in a shooter. He's out there rebounding, 6 a game, dishing out about 4 or 5 assists. I mean, these guys that are out there around the East Texas, the West Texas, they're playing really good basketball. They're competing, and these teams are looking like they're ready to make their run when we get down to the stretch of the district play.
Hey, thank you for tuning into this edition of the GASOCAST. Make sure you join our community. It's free. Social media at Texas Hoops, GASO at Texas Hoops TV, GASO Blue, GASO Mass, at iFilm Hoopers.
Yeah, boy.
Subscribe to this channel, ask questions, engage with us. We appreciate your time.